Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to tell you about this podcast. It's called The DK Project, but it's really The Darren Show. The DK Project is a radio show, but without the radio. So sit back, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
Let's go!
Welcome back to the DK Project. Another new episode here, guys. Episode 89. Gonna have them coming out fast and furious here for a little while. I got a little bit of a backlog. On today's episode, we've got Rick Soetebier, dating and relationship coach. He is the virtual relationship guru. You're gonna want to check it out. Check his website out. It's ricksoetebier.com, SOETEBIER.com. We talk about some ups and downs in the relationship world, dating in this new crazy time, and some of the pitfalls that new relationships run into, and it's funny to hear some of the struggles that people have over the stupidest stuff, but he breaks it all down for us. It's really a great episode. Rick is a great guy. Also dive in a little bit to the family business of pasties, which if you've ever been up to the UP or anywhere in Michigan, it's a little delightful snack. Actually, it's the precursor to the Hot Pocket. Anyway, make sure you check the whole episode out. It's a good one. And check Rick out. He's a good dude. And we had a great little sit down. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rick Soetebier. All right, podcast fans, welcome back to the DK Project. With us today, we have Rick Soetebier. We've been talking sailing, but you're actually a marriage counselor of sorts, correct?
Well, a dating and relationship coach, yeah.
Ooh, is that your primary gig?
Ew. Pardon me?
Is that your primary gig? That's what pays the bills?
That's what pays the bills. Yeah, it's and I work with singles basically to help them make better decisions about the people they date and the relationships they get into.
Oh,
I know. After literally hundreds of dates in my lifetime and being with my ex for 25 years and going through a reasonably amicable divorce, I recognized all the mistakes that I'd made and I've been a student of self and relationship improvement for 36 or 37 years now, and it just one thing led to another about 6 or 7 years ago, and when I started co-authoring a book on dating and relationships, and shortly after we started writing, I said, "Yeah, this is what I want to do when I grow up." So Here I am.
What's the name of the book?
The book is called Dating Backward.
Oh.
And the basic premise of the book is that most people start dating when they start dating again after they're divorced or widowed. They're dating backward because they're out there dating without knowing exactly what they're looking for or what they want in their next relationship. 95% of people can tell me what they don't want, but they don't know what they really want.
Okay, so I mean, things have changed so dramatically for a lot of people who find themselves back in the dating world. I mean, it's not like it used to be. I mean, you look like you're maybe about my age, and we didn't have a lot of these tools and tricks and technology to get us into the dating world. We had to go to the bar and get drunk like the rest of them and try and persuade the opposite sex or whomever you were after to either hang out with you or go home with you, whatever, hey. But so how do you find that? Like when you find divorced people or widows that are jumping back into the market, I mean, it's a different world out there. And I mean, it should be easier, but I don't know. What do you find? I've been married long enough to where I've never been on a dating app.
Well, yeah, dating apps weren't around when I got married, the dating world has changed, and that's where a lot of people run into problems. Is number one, they hear so many horror stories about online dating, and the reality is, online dating is just a tool. If put in the right hands, if you learn how to use it, it's just like any other tool. When a carpenter, a craftsman learns how to use a table saw or a skill saw or a bandsaw, whatever they're using, or a hunter, he learns how to use a shotgun or a rifle. They learn how to use those tools, and they're just tools. But in the wrong hands, it creates a lot of problems. If you create a garbage profile, and so many people just slap something up on their dating profile, they slap up a couple of pictures and then go scrolling, and then they wonder why they have problems, why they're attracting
garbage out, garbage in.
Yeah, exactly. They're attracting the bottom dwellers, and then they get mad at the system for the people that contact them.
Right.
So so yeah, you're right. Garbage in, garbage out.
You find a lot of people having a lot of success with that stuff?
Are people having a lot of success with that?
That you've run into? I know the commercials all tell us they are, and I know a lot of people who have.
Yeah, well, I talk to people on both sides of the spectrum. A lot of the people that I talk to initially, they're having problems, but once we go through their profile, rewrite it, and add different pictures that are more representative of them, they start getting better results. And don't misunderstand me. I can't wave a magic wand over your profile and make all the creepers go away. That's just not going to happen. Right. There are a lot of creepers out there. But you have to learn to recognize those in the first couple of conversations. A lot of them you can recognize in their opening line. Hey, beautiful. Or, it's just, simple, stupid opening lines like that are generally going to be creepers.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure that's just one part of what you're doing, right? But do you really have to go in and help people set up their profile? Like they don't know that, hey, if we misrepresent ourselves or mislead people, that we're going to get the same back. Is that real? People need help with that?
Absolutely. Because a lot of I know it's crazy because a lot of people, when they first get back, especially when they first get back into the dating world, they just want to dive in. They want to see what's out, see who's out on the dating sites, and they don't want to invest a lot of time. And it can take, 2, 3, 4 hours to create a good profile. And most people, when they pay their money, they want to just zoom. They want to go right in to see who's there, and they don't pay attention. And then pretty soon, somewhere down the road, they forget about going in and updating and keeping it current. And ladies, ladies that are listening, you all are as bad as the guys. I hear ladies complaining about the guy with the ball cap on backwards, holding the big bass. Well, you'd be surprised how many ladies profiles I see with the same thing. They're holding their big catch of the day, and so it's. I mean, if that's what the guy likes, if that's what the lady likes, fine. That's what they like to do. Don't run them down for it.
Right.
If you don't like that, then swipe right, swipe left, whatever you want to do, and move on. But you've got to make sure that you do a really good job on your dating profile to make it a useful tool. And again, it's just a tool. They say about 30% of relationships start online. Okay, well, if that's the case, if you say, nope, I refuse to do online dating or use the online programs, that's like hiring a carpenter to work on your house or to build you a house and telling him to keep 30% of his tools in the truck.
Look at you. There you go.
So it's really that simple. And what I try to teach is use all the tools that are available. You do online dating, check out meetup groups or social groups that do things that you're that you're familiar with and like to do, and then experiment with some groups that do things that you've never tried before. One of the biggest things I keep telling people is you have to think outside the box, and especially ladies, they come to me and say, well, I can't find any good men. Well, where are you looking? Are you sitting at home and waiting for Mr. Right to show up on your doorstep?
Well, and I got to think that in this day and age where people are afraid of their own shadow, going out and actually meeting people is a monumental task, just because, people don't go out like they used to, or especially right now during the pandemic. Holy crap, nothing's happening. But they,
Well,
to give them a tool or an avenue to get out and meet people. I mean, that's got to be one of the hardest parts, getting people to leave the house, because at this day and age, these younger kids, they don't want to leave the house.
Well, yeah, and I look at that with my daughter and son-in-law, and they're mid-30s, and they're scared witless over what's going on right now, and that's okay for them. That's not okay for me. And a lot of it, a lot of dating right now is based on your level of fear.
Yeah.
If you're very fearful, then you need to stay at home, and online dating is probably going to be your only avenue of choice. Now, there are some groups like Meetup that encourage virtual meetups where you can get 15, 20 people on a conversation or in a chat like this. And you can start meeting people that way or connecting with people. But even online dating, you don't have to meet. I mean, initially you will have to meet, but you can use Skype, you can use FaceTime, you can use Zoom, just like we're doing.
Have to leave the house.
Yeah. But eventually you do.
Yeah.
Because there's, we can talk face to face like this only for so long, and then you have to meet in person to determine if there's a chemistry there.
Right.
Because I've had conversations and I've talked to a lot of people where the same thing has happened. You talk to somebody on the phone, if you meet them online, and you can have great conversations, but then you get to you get to that first date, and then all of a sudden it's dead air. It's just, there's nothing, and you struggle. So eventually you do have to meet in person to determine if there's chemistry. If there is, great. If not, the first word out of your mouth should be next.
Right. But that's not all you do is the online stuff? Is that your specialty, I guess you say, is the dating world? You're not old relationships or well-established relationships. I don't even know how you say it. Well, matured relationships.
Generally, I focus on the dating end. I do have people coming to me talking about their relationships, and I've worked with a couple of married people, and I tend to only work with one person in the couple or the other. And the reason being is that if you need that type of coaching, you probably need more along the lines of counseling or therapy, which I don't do.
Okay.
I deal with basic relationship issues. If there are deep-seated underlying issues, then that's where counselors and therapists come in, and you guys go there and deal with those deep-seated issues there. The people that tend to come to me are they're usually they may be in a relationship, and they want to know, why is this happening? How can I make this work? Or, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell them it's time to walk away. Because if you're having that many problems up front,
right,
it's only going to get worse down the road. And it's typically only one of them that's willing to work on the relationship, and the one that's willing to work and put in all the effort is generally the one that has to leave, because the other partner just isn't going to carry their load. And it has to be, and I often hear, it should be a 50-50 partnership. No. Or a 50-50 relationship. No, it needs to be 100-100 partnership. You both have to give 100% to the relationship and really expect nothing in return. And when you have that can be a dynamic and spectacular relationship.
Wow. What percentage do you think that you figure you say just call it, like just get out? You're those numbers got to be off the chart, right? What it
Well, in a dating in the dating realm, yeah, I would say probably 70 to 80% of the people that I coach that are in relationships, I coach out of that relationship because it's unhealthy, it's toxic, and it's not the relationship they're looking for. The problem with dating and relationships, and it's been this way for eons, is that we tend to settle. If you look at marketing or advertising, we deserve the best. We deserve a break. We all deserve to drive a Mercedes or a Lexus, or and it's, you deserve the best. The best food on your table, whatever it is, they're all promoting you deserve the best, until we get to relationships, and then we're told you're too picky. You're not, you need to accept things as they are, people as they are. And yes, you need to accept people as they are, but you don't need to keep them in your life. It's you need to be very specific about what you're looking for, and again, not settle.
Well, and I think a prime example of what you're talking about is when you had said that people aren't willing to invest an hour or 2 or 3 into setting up their profile because they're trying to find the person they want to spend the rest of their life with. Why would I want to spend an hour or 2 putting together a profile? I mean, like some people just have to be realistic. If you're not putting anything into it, you're not going to get much out of it. And I just find it amazing that I've been married 22 years, something like that. And, maybe at that point you look at counseling or whatever, or coaching, but when people are in new relationships, that's just fascinating that they immediately go, is it usually because of problems or just because they don't want problems to come in? Not that they already have them, but we want to make sure we're going down the right road and that problems aren't going to come into play. So we're going to be proactive and which one are you finding more of? Like, we already have problems, or we're trying to avoid problems, so we want to make sure we're on the right page?
No, very rarely do I see people trying to avoid problems. They're of a mindset. And to go back to the very beginning of your question, we live in an immediate gratification society, so we don't want to do a lot of work to find someone to be with. We want that relationship, but we don't want to put a lot of effort in. I go back to my financial planning days, and most people would spend more time planning for their annual vacation than they would for retirement. And the same thing happens here. People will spend more time planning their vacations than they do thinking about and focusing on the person they want to spend the rest of their life with.
Right.
And so it just becomes an absolute mess, and this revolving door of people in your lives and crappy relationships. And I contend that if you pay attention up front, you're going to go through more people on the front end, but the relationships that you develop are going to be much stronger. Right. And if you have the mindset of not settling, you will end up with extraordinary. You will end up with your soulmate. And when you do, and I have people come to me and say, Rick, yeah, people tell me I'm too picky. You can never be too picky. And when you stick to your boundaries, when you stick to your must-have list and your deal breaker list, you will find extraordinary people. And those relationships, when you connect and all the pieces fit together, it is amazing. And to a person, every person that I've interviewed, or every couple that I've interviewed that said that they're with their soulmate, have told me literally the same thing, almost verbatim. And that's that their mate has brought more to the relationship than they could ever have imagined.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
I imagine, well, that it seems rare, but because it always seems to be something that bugs people about other people, but I don't know. It's hard to believe that with I don't know how many billion people there are in the world that people, are early dating and they're trying to work it out with this person. Like if there's any flaw at all, get the hell out. There's 300 billion other people you could choose from. It seems so simple, but I imagine that's not what that's not how your brochure reads. but
no, but nobody's perfect.
Right.
But you have to be crystal clear, number one, about what you want in the relationship. What are the characteristics you want? And it can be even down to hair color or physical stature or things like that. Because I believe that there are so many people out there, and I believe we all have more than one soulmate or one potential extraordinary relationship. But it's a matter of taking the time and having the patience to find them.
Yeah.
And that's where most of us fall down. We find somebody that has this great basket of qualities, but then over here are some really crappy things that we really don't like. And rather than just accepting this and then taking the garbage, along with, I contend you just focus on that basket of great things. Find that person with all the things you're looking for and none of your red flags.
Right.
Then you're not going to have to deal with a lot of crap. Then the things you deal with are going to be the small things, like where do you squeeze the tube of toothpaste? If you don't agree on it, you each have your own tube of toothpaste. One squeezes from the bottom, one squeezes from the middle or the top. And
I can't even imagine.
You each have your own tooth.
That sounds like a real thing that you've dealt with, that people are pissed about how another person squeezes the toothpaste. I bet that's real.
Good Lord. Then there's the eternal argument about which way the roll of toilet paper goes, over the top or underneath. It's just
are those deal breakers?
Those can be. They were mine for a while.
Really?
Absolutely.
Which way here's what you tell people. You know which way the toilet paper goes on the roll? The way she wants it to go on the roll.
There you go. There you go. But
I know that's a thing. Because my wife brings that up. We have a system now, but it did come up. Like which way the toilet paper goes. We have our own toothpaste, so the toothpaste doesn't come up. But those are things. But I wouldn't know that would be a stickler.
And it's there's the eternal argument about guys putting the seat down when they're done.
Yeah.
Ladies, you have a hand, you have an arm, you can reach the seat, you can put it down.
Boy. You're single, aren't you? That doesn't work.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. You know what?
But my point is that guys have for years have been bashed for leaving the seat up. Well, if you're going in the middle of the night, just feel for the seat, or you can cure that, put the whole damn thing down and lift the lid.
That's not the right answer. The right answer is, I'll put it down, honey. Don't worry about it.
Yes. The right answer is yes, dear.
I have a ice cream store in the front of my building and then my office and my studio in the back here. And I have my own bathroom, but it's covered up with the soundproofing. But then we have a bathroom for the whole building. And we have 2 signs in there that says, put the seat down, put the lid down, which she made the signs, of course. And they don't do it. They still don't do it. I have people come in for the podcast, men, they go in there and use the bathroom, and then the lid's up, and it starts to piss me off. Like, not because I care if the lid's up or not. You totally didn't obey the sign. Like, come on. Yeah. There's a sign. Oh.
And when's the last time you read directions for anything?
Well, when you're standing there for a minute and you're staring at the wall and it says, close the lid. I had one guy who came in. He's probably been on more podcasts than any of my other co-hosts. And he would do it every time. And I'd be like, dude, come on. And this isn't the Odd Couple here. You're going to close the lid. That's how we do it in America. And we do it everywhere. But that's funny because, people overlook that shit like no big deal. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute. I bet that does piss people off. And I've often thought about that with my wife. My wife and I have been married 20 some years. It's coming up here, 22 maybe. I don't even know. But I don't have that thing. And I think that's what makes it work. Like there's nothing she does that bothers me. Although she is starting to talk a lot. Like some reason she talks a lot. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But otherwise, there's nothing she does. I'm sure there's a ton of shit that I do that drives her nuts, but she won't tell me. But so I think that's why it works, but if you start getting into that, oh God, I hate it when you fucking, then you're heading down the wrong road.
That's and that's exactly right. And that's when if you've got, and there's a couple of thoughts that are screaming in my head right now. They say that opposites attract. Well, they do for a certain period of time. And statistically, those relationships end after about, on an average of 5 years. I mean, some will last longer, some not
last
that
about
long.
22.
No, because everything, you've got nothing to complain about your wife. And I would venture a guess that she has very little, if anything, to complain about with you. You guys just mesh.
Hey, there's a comment card by the door, and there's never anything in the box, so it must be fine, right?
Exactly.
So it just works. But I get a charge out of these people that are together for 40, 50 years, and then they get a divorce. What all of a sudden happens? Like how do not that you go ahead. I was interrupting you. Sorry.
No. No, on situations like that, I think that they just get to a breaking point in some relationships. Now, I've met women that were married, 40 years, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a divorce situation, and generally it's because the partner has taken for lack of better terms, a mental twist, and they've just decided that they're not happy. And I've seen it with ladies too, with women, that they just decide that after this long, they've got there's got to be something better. And I suffered that same thing in my marriage. There was a lot missing in my marriage, and that's why I left. Because I was bound and determined to keep the marriage together, and sadly, for the last 6, 7, 8 years of that marriage, I was thinking that I was going to be in a mediocre marriage for the rest of my life, and that was really depressing.
Yeah,
and so. Yeah. So, I mean, and we had a lot of issues, and there comes a point in time, everybody has a breaking point, whether it's 20 years, 25 in my case, 30, 40 years, there's a breaking point, and that you throw up your hands and say, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And then it's time to move on.
Well, as you get older, you start to realize, and I'm actually in the middle of a book right now about this, but you start to realize that, money, kids, all that kind of stuff is manageable, but you can't get more time. So if you're not living to the fullest what you're doing, then you need to change it, because you can't buy more time. You can't find more time. It's now, and you could be dead tomorrow. You could be dead in 30 years, but if you're not maximizing what you're doing in that amount of time, then fucking the world is depressing, man. Ugh. It's an ugly, you know what I mean? Like, good gosh,
exactly.
I couldn't imagine.
Exactly.
And fortunately, knock on wood, like I said, everything's cool at the house right now. but to think that something was so bad that you're like, I equate it to, I worked in the corporate world for a little while, that when I first got out of school, and I just hated it. Like Sunday night, you're like, oh God, I got to go to a job tomorrow. I got to commute. I got to do all that shit. Like if that's how your relationship is, where not that you're hating the person, but there's things that bug you that bad. Oh my God, get out, hit the road.
Yeah. Well, and I know that feeling exactly, because when I would be out on the road working while I was married, I'd be in a great mood, and I was thinking about all the things that I was going to share with my wife at the time. And it literally, the minute I pulled into my parking space, there was an attitude shift. I mean, it was just the negativity flowed in, and it was like, oh crap, I'm home. I may have had a great day, but I knew that, and again, I'm a very positive person, and I know I was sabotaging my marriage in some ways, in some respects, with that attitude. But I had lived with the negativity for so long that it was like hitting a brick wall when I got home. So, that happens, and I understand, and that's how I code. I help people recognize that it's not going to get better if you can't communicate, you can't talk about it, and we couldn't. So,
and that's a big deal. Communication is everything, and I find that with anything. I have a few different businesses and blah 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 blah, but communicating and getting your point across. A lot of people are, even in families where they don't talk, they just assume and and it's like, no, you got to lay it out there. And if they don't like it, they don't like it, but at least they know about it. At least you're not hiding anything, and then it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's just stuff that needs to be said. And a lot of people are afraid to say it. And this day and age, even more than before, you're finding a lot of people are like I said, afraid of their own shadow. They're afraid of any kind of conflict, any kind of feedback. Yeah. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to be sad. But in reality, sometimes you got to go through that in order to realize what you have and what you need and where you're headed. Because by all means, I'm not I'm no spokesmodel for perfect anything, but even though I play one on TV, they once we get off this podcast, I'm going to unload all my problems, but people just don't understand that, and my experience, communication is key to everything. And if you're starting out in a dating world or midway through the dating world and that's a problem, hit the road, get out.
Yeah.
You should have like a big red button. So when they start babbling, you just hit the button, you're out, like the Gong Show.
Yeah.
Boom, get out. That's funny. So the toilet paper thing, the toilet seat, the toothpaste, what else? What are the other hot button issues? I mean, there's got,
and it's different for everyone. I just use those because number one, they were mine for a period of time.
Yeah.
But it can be anything. It can be not helping around the house. It can be spending too much time at the golf course or with the guys, or spending shopping too much, or not taking care. I said not taking care of the house. It could be any number of things that drives one or the other crazy.
Are there a lot of it financial? Is a lot of it financial based? I got to think that's a big part.
There is a lot that's financial, especially when you get into marriage, and money is a huge issue for a lot of people. And typically, not always, one is a good money manager and the other is not. And the good money manager nags the one that's not, and the one that likes to spend money nags the money manager because she doesn't have enough to, or he. I gotta qualify. Yeah, I know, right? But I've talked to people that one partner is extremely controlling, and I have one friend that her husband controlled which card she paid for groceries with, or if she needed to pay cash. And I mean, and they were well to do.
Yeah.
But it was
just a control thing,
how much she could spend. And so, it was a very controlling relationship. So I see a lot of that.
Yeah. Well,
and those are the ones that I encourage I guess the less dominant spouse or the less dominant partner to leave, because it's not a healthy relationship. It's a very toxic relationship.
Well, and do you find, obviously you find that things have changed. Like you're doing a lot of this via Skype or Zoom or people don't even, how often do you see people like really go into an office and see people? Or is that just not?
I don't do it. I really don't do that anymore, especially with and for a couple of reasons. A couple of years ago, I started recognizing that when I meet in an office in an office setting, it's very kind of a sterile conversation, And so I found that going to a coffee shop or someplace like Panera Bread, or where you can sit and just have a casual conversation, I found that people were much more likely to talk more deeply about their problems or concerns than they are, sitting on a couch or sitting in a chair in an office. And now this Skype or Zoom has made that, so much easier, because we can sit and talk face to face. Neither of us has travel time. I have clients all over the country, so I'm not limited to just Kansas City.
That really opens things up. That's cool.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I see a lot of stuff right now, especially with the COVID, where their doctors are doing stuff via Zoom. Like my mom has all kinds of problems, but she has these doctor's appointments and they're virtual, and they'll like go over stuff. One of my audio tech guys, just his daughter was sick. They thought she had it, and they're like checking in her mouth and stuff via Zoom. I'm like, wow, we've come a long way. That's impressive. But you might want to check into that doctor, dude. I don't know that I'd pay up front for that one. But pretty interesting stuff. And I got to imagine that's just opened up your world to where you can have people anywhere. And as long as you can like speak the language, you can treat anybody anywhere or work with anybody.
I can literally I can talk to anybody that speaks English. If we're outside of English, I'm done. And I sometimes have a tough time with that too.
Well, and that happens. I think you run into but nowadays, I don't know. It's so diverse everywhere, and we're going through so much turmoil now with everything. It's like you don't know what to say to anything. It's crazy. We're getting hit really hard right now by the riots and the protesters and the blah 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 blah, because we're at the epicenter here of how it all started. But it's just changed everything, and it's changed the world I mean, it was funny because I that's not funny, but I went to the area most affected here locally, and it's just devastating. It's crazy, but it screws up everything. Like there's a post office that burned down, and all these people, and these are like they're probably not the wealthiest neighborhoods, let's say that. And they're going to be so devastated by this stuff. But I got to imagine coaching and counseling for people like that has got to be through the roof. I mean, these people, it's crazy how the world has changed. But technology is a big part of it. Like you look everywhere, social media, blah, 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 blah. And it's all, everybody's taking a stand and everybody's making their comments. And it's like, if people would just go about their day and do their thing and stop trying to be the one, the world would be a lot different. But with technology, it's got good and bad, right? I mean, it's totally blown your business.
Yeah, it does. And one of the things that I see is there's a lot, just like you, there's a lot of negativity. You get on social media, and I've just watched how social media has evolved, especially in the last 6 months, how negative everything has gone. And I've had to, I've put out several blogs, and I do a Monday Facebook Live that I've talked several times about changing your attitude, turning off the news, stopping social media, start filling your head with good things. Read a book, listen to Audible podcasts. There are a ton of great podcasts out there that you can fill your head with good things and positive things, and some things as simple as sitting up straight, putting a smile on your face, and just the physiology. There you go. Exactly.
It's just
it's all crap. But it's funny because I've done research on this, or studied the research on this, and just a simple act of sitting up straight, putting a smile on your face, breathing deep, literally changes your mental activity. The brain doesn't know why you're smiling, but it sends endorphins out that said, oh yeah, something good is happening because he's smiling.
Yeah.
And so and it could be some very, very basic, simple things like that. But shut down the TV.
For sure.
Read a book.
It's funny because I just had this battle with my voiceover coach yesterday. And with voiceover, you're recording and people can't see you, so obviously you have to act and you have to tell the story just through your voice. And one of the biggest things I hear from him, other than a few reading things, but smile. I can't hear you smile. Like, you can hear people smile. So if you're talking to somebody on the phone or you're in an environment, and that's the biggest thing. I've been having so much fun making light of the with the pandemic and the masks. Like, now you can go into some takeout restaurants and get takeout. And I like to go in there and just give them shit about, I know you're smiling at me right now, because we can't really see with the mask on, but I'm sure you are, because truly, when you take that feature away, people don't know, it's crazy.
But a lot of Darren, a lot of times you can see in the corner of their eyes, if the corner of their eyes kind of curl up, you can't see a smile even with the mask.
Yeah.
But to your point with your voiceover coach, put a mirror in front of you and smile at yourself. I should just work with them on happy days because there's a lot of unhappy days. But I actually just recently moved my office for my other business outside of my studio because we have it all blacked out in here. And it's like you sit in here for 4-6 hours doing a studio session with a podcast or voiceover stuff. And it's like, it's all black. Give me some sunshine. And I think that affects people, on top of all this other shit. So people just need to step away from the news. I've totally avoided. I try to hit the weather segment, but they're never right either. So why bother? There's an app for that. Actually, what's funny is there's a guy locally here who's he's a local sports guy. And I've been thinking about calling to get him on the podcast, blah, 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 blah. And I haven't seen him in a while because our kids play some sports together. But I just saw him walking in town yesterday. And, you can't get your hair cut anywhere. You can't get it colored. Oh my God, dude looks rough. Like, woo, when you see him, because you see him on TV and they're all like, hey, everything's great. And then you see him walking after a pandemic. It's like, holy snot. Were you on the front lines of the battle? Your hair's all different colors. Holy moly. Come on down to Missouri. You can get a haircut anytime.
I just texted my lady today because I'm kind of thinking I'll just let it go because I got a 14-year-old who says I'm not cutting it again until we go back to school. And I'm like, oh. And he's got real hair. I don't have any, so I don't have that much to worry. I can cut mine myself if I wanted to. But we're starting to open up. We've got restaurants. What they did is they said the restaurants can open as long as it's outside. And, I live in a lake community, so we've got a couple restaurants with huge patios, like probably seat 600 on their patios.
Oh, my gosh.
And they said you can open, but you can only have 50 people. I'm like,
oh.
Like, really? It's that time again, folks. Time to enjoy summer. And what's more summer than ice cream? The Lost Lake Creamery is open. We have made some changes for your safety during these difficult times, but we still have 24 flavors of ice cream, shakes, malts, and root beer floats. Check out our new website at lostlakecreamery.com. You can bike, boat, walk, drive, however you want to get here. We are located at 5575 Shoreline Drive, just off the Dakota Bike Trail in the Harbor District of Mound, at the end of the Lost Lake Channel on the north end of Cooks Bay of Lake Minnetonka. Open every day. Stop in and see us today. And remember, ice cream fixes everything. Now back to the DK Project.
The book is number one, available on my website, ricksoetebier.com, but you can also get it at amazon.com and either in a paperback or their Kindle, their e-reader version. So, but it's a simple read. And, we talk about some of the fundamentals, developing an intellectual, a spiritual, an emotional, and a physical connection. We all get the physical connection. And most of our brains go right to the sexual aspect, but there's also the physical appearance. We want to be attracted to our mate. Then I personally believe that we need to speak similar love languages, and that's it just allows you to communicate on a much deeper level.
Oh, yeah.
And you need. Yeah. And so then there are common morals and values and some common goals. All these things need to be in place. And we talk about this. We talk about communication. We a little bit ago, we mentioned communication was so important. It is extremely important. And we devoted 2.5 chapters of the book just to communication.
Wow.
And then we touch on some things about toxic relationships. We touch on narcissism, codependency, emotional immaturity, and to help you get an idea of what some of the red flags are of those relationships, so that you can pay attention. And especially in the first 30 days. We're all wrapped up in the infatuation, raging hormones, and maybe some great chemistry of what's going on. But we need to be able to step back from that and recognize, well, are there any red flags there? And if there are, then it's time to walk away. And ideally within the first 30 days. Now, there are some relationships that you're going to go in, 6 months and maybe even a year. But I truly believe that if you're paying attention, you can see enough positive or any negative within the first 30 days. And you just move on from there. And then that's what the book helps you figure out. And it helps you gain clarity. It helps you develop your must-have list, your deal breaker list.
So who's your target market for that?
Pardon me?
Is your target market? I speak for a living. Is your target market new daters? People in the people thinking. I mean, obviously anybody can buy the book, and it could probably help everybody. But who's your This is the sweet spot. The new daters, the 30-day daters who are starting to feel that toilet paper thing is a problem, and is it just generalized for anybody in the dating relationship world, or you definitely want to get it before you start jumping on those dating apps or any of that kind of thing?
Well, and the information is fundamental. It's good for anyone from 18 to 80, but my target market is generally 40 and over. I've been married for 20, 30, or 40 years, and all of a sudden find themselves back in the dating world. We touch on even some of the online dating and texting and stuff like that. As part of the communication and literally the marketing because that's what you do when you're out dating. You're marketing yourself. It's marketing 101.
Right.
So, we try to teach you how to present yourself and share proper information with people and so that you get the best results. It's ideally it's before you start dating. But a lot of people are coming in saying, man, I'm screwing up. I don't know where I'm going. I need some help. Well, read the book and then if you need more help, then send me an email or a message, hook up with me or connect with me on, not hook up.
Okay, get in touch with me.
So, little Freudian, my Freudian slip is showing.
You, that's what I was gonna say. Is there an audio version of the book?
No, we never created an audio version.
Maybe what you need is a voiceover guy who can do that for you.
Hey,
I know a guy.
Let's talk after the podcast. But seriously, it was something that I've only had a few requests for an audio version, and the next book will be in audio version. In an audio version.
What's the next one? What's the next one?
I've got a couple more books in me.
Ooh.
And it's just, and a lot of it comes from practical experience of coaching and when I started this, I started with a really good foundation, over 30 years, almost 35, 36, 37 years of relationship and self-improvement. study. And there's a lot of experience comes from talking to people. I have my perspective, but all these other experiences from other people have helped build my knowledge base, and so there's a lot of different aspects of relationships that I want to touch on that we didn't get into in the first book.
What about the dirt? I'll narrate the dating backwards, the dirt, where you start to disclose all the fun stuff that you run into. That's what I'll uncut. That'll be the good one. It'll have like a black cover.
Hey,
so like nobody knows.
And it's funny because I'll have somebody come to me and share a story or things that I learned through coaching or situations that I deal with in coaching, and I'll create a blog or I'll create a meme about it. And I swear, I've had women that I was dating at the time come up to, did you write about us?
Oops.
Was that about us? And no, there's nothing. there was nothing there. But a lot of what I do write is things that have happened to me. So
you guys aren't dating anymore, huh? End of the road. No, what I wanted to transition into is to talk a little bit about this sign that you have behind you. Now, I'm somewhat familiar with the Michigan area. I go up to the UP to, I don't think we want to call it catch salmon. We just snag them and smoke them and
snag them and bag them.
Yeah, gross. I did it for a long time. I got a cousin who's been going up there for 40 years. He doesn't miss a year. He's like a very high level professional, and like I'm going on the trip. I don't miss the trip, period. So I'm familiar with the area, and I'm referring to this sign behind your head here. We talked about it a little bit before we hopped on the air. And this was your dad's.
I'll just turn my camera a little bit. That's Captain Jack Limited. That used to be my dad's business, and I worked in the family business for many, many years. And what that was, and especially through Minneapolis, I worked in the Minneapolis area quite a bit. We had a broker down there, and the business was in frozen pasties. And so,
big level then, like you're distributing them all. It wasn't like mom and pop dealing them out the little storefront. You were big time.
Well, we were primarily in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. We were very regional, very localized. But now I'm finding I'll have people reach out to me. Did you know there's a pasty shop out in Utah, or there's one in Arizona?
What exactly are these? Because we all drive by and we chuckle because the pasties kind of looks like pasties, and that's just funny.
Yeah.
But what exactly is a pasty? I see it everywhere, but I don't know that I've had one. Break this down.
You've got to try it. In essence, and there's a whole long story about how they came to be. But basically, they're meat and potatoes wrapped in a pie crust. And
sounds like a home run.
Put a
little gravy on
awesome. That. Yeah, and people will put in, people will put in some different vegetables. Some will have rutabaga in them. Some will have pork in them. But they're basically beef and potatoes and some onion, and it's a great comfort food.
So it's like an old school Hot Pocket, is what you're talking about.
It's a precursor to the Hot Pockets.
So
exactly.
Is Captain Jack Limited still around?
No, it hasn't been around for years. My dad sold the business when he retired. Gosh, that's probably about 15 years ago.
Wow.
or so.
Because they are real heavy up in that UP and the Michigan and Wisconsin. They love that stuff.
Yeah. But we had a good presence down in the Twin Cities because I remember going to working in all the old Red Owl stores, the Cubs, the Super Ones, and a lot of those stores have changed names a couple of times, but those were there were the IGA stores. There were who was the Super Value stores.
Yep. We got Cub and Super Value. Red Owl, I think, sold out. I think Super Value just sold out too. But so that was a frozen
Red Owl
product?
went out of. Pardon me?
So that was a frozen product that you were distributing, or
it was
okay.
Yeah. And they were pre-baked, and we had they came with a little microwave sleeve, so you could throw them in the microwave for 3.5 or 4 minutes, whatever it was. I don't know. I just happen to have.
I was going to say I just happen to be eating one right now. Is that the box? Really?
Yeah, this was something and this actually, the building I'm in right now is a building I inherited from my dad, and this was the original pasty factory, and now it's just office space. It's been converted, but
wow, that's cool.
This is where it all happened, and that the sign behind me was the sign on our warehouse building, and. So
that's cool. I had to ask because I'm familiar, but I don't think I've ever had one. I will.
Well, you got to try them, and every nationality. This is Cornish or Welsh in nature, or in heritage, and there were a lot of Welsh or English miners that moved to this area. You know, the northern Michigan, northern Minnesota areas were lots of mining. We had copper and iron mining here for years, and I think you guys still have iron ore mining or taconite. You know, where they.
I think they're after copper and nickel right now.
So there you go.
Mining. Yeah, what is that? Is that's not the Polish thing? Is that a pierogi? Is that the same thing?
There's the pierogi. I think the Latin community has. I think it's the empanada.
Ooh.
They're all very similar. So
I'm pro empanada.
There you go. So
that's awesome.
It's I grew up in that world, and I grew up in a bakery. My dad was a baker by trade, and it's interesting. You know, even in retirement, he couldn't give it up. I've got behind me in another room, I've got a 20 bun pan oven that I need to sell. So
wow. Well, it's funny because the little mom and pop bakeries have just gone by the wayside. Like you don't ever see them. I've got a building next to me that's just a beat down piece of junk that I've been trying to buy for a long time to put like a high-end coffee house in with some baked goods and whatever. And people don't just go to bakery, like if you're I'm in a lake community, so it may work because then you're like vacationing or taking the weekend and then you'll go eat that garbage. But otherwise, day to day, people aren't running around eating donuts. I mean, people do, but it's not like it used to be, where before we figured out that it was the forbidden food, could be some health ramifications from pounding the donuts. But I've thought about doing that next door to me. That's funny because it's and then you get something unique like the pasties or the pierogies or fucking empanadas. Hey now, that's a gold mine. People love that stuff. That's cool, man. Yeah, that's cool. Well, listen,
it really is.
We gotta wrap this thing up, man.
Yeah,
we're
running out of time here.
Yeah, that's all right though. We're gonna have you back on because there's a whole sailing world we need to discuss. But your boat's dry dock, so we can't talk about it yet. That's almost a bad omen if you talk about it while it's under repair. You gotta it's been under restoration for 3 years. I mean, I get out and sail it each year. It's just with the craziness of the virus that's been they didn't. I bring a camper up here so I can stay near the marina. They didn't even open up until May 26th. Where are you at?
Well, right now I'm in Ironwood, Michigan, but I keep my boat over in Washburn, Wisconsin, which is about 45 minutes from here, or an hour's drive, 45 miles.
Okay.
And if you're familiar, if any of your listeners are familiar with the Bayfield area, it's in the Apostle Island area. Yeah. So
I want to get back up there. I went up there a bunch of times and never went to the islands. I actually, one time I had borrowed, maybe I had it at that point, my dad's truck, but I used his truck to pull my boat. I've got a 26-foot Sea Ray. So on the trailer, I'm probably 30, 32 feet, something like that. And I'm lugging this thing up there, and it's October for Apple Fest, and the weather's holy shit bad, like real bad. I get to Duluth, and if anybody's familiar with Duluth, they have a boardwalk between this hotel and the water in Canal Park, and the waves are crashing over the boardwalk. I mean, ridiculous weather. So the next day we continue up to Bayfield, and I get to Bayfield, and I'm like, I was going to throw it in the water. I rented this condo, whatever, and they're like, you're not putting that in the water. Like, you that's not a good idea. So then I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do with it? I got, with the truck, I'm probably 50 feet more, I don't know, probably 60 feet. I'm like, what? There's no parking. What do I do? And luckily there's a marina there. I don't remember the name of it, but the gal was just a doll. She's like, we'll move some shit around. We'll get it in there. But the look on their face when they said, you're not putting that in the water. And I'm like, at home here at 26 feet, that's a good sized boat, But yeah, they wanted nothing to do with it. That's not going to work. So I have yet to make it out to the damn islands, and I know for sure I will never pull that boat up there again. But I did charter a sailboat, and we sailed, but we never stopped. Actually, Dave, one of my cohorts on the show, his brother lives up there and like works on the island. Is it Madeline Island? Is that right there?
Madeline Island. Yeah, that's the main island, but I think there's 11 or 12 islands or 13 islands total.
Yeah, he lives up there, and to hear the winter stories, it's just incredible. Like, just crazy how the winter, and I think Dave's mom still lives on the island. It's just a different way of life. It's a little bit further back. Shit, even when we go up to the UP to salmon fish, you go to those bars and you're like, did we just go back in time? Like, what the hell's going on here? This is weird.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I could see where if you grew up there, it'd be real nostalgic and real home-like, because you do basically have to turn back time a little bit to get yourself into that mindset.
Yeah, you do. And, I live, my primary residence is in Kansas City, but 3 years ago when my dad passed away and I inherited the sailboat, the first spring that I uncovered it, I just fell in love with the area again, because I'd forgotten how beautiful it is up here in the spring and summer.
Yeah.
Winter, not so much. I grew up in the snow. I've had enough snow in Kansas City. If we get, I think the first year I was in Kansas City, we had a total of about 2 or 2.5 feet of snow for the entire winter. Oh. And it comes in 6 to 12 inch dumps. And then, a week or 10 days or 2 weeks later, it's all melted.
I dream of a day like that. I'm Minnesota where we're at. I've got now going to be a freshman in high school. So the day he leaves for college I'm probably following him wherever he goes, because I'm not staying. The winters are just BS here. I can't. Yeah, well, and it's not even so much the winters, as everybody's go, the summers are so great, but the summers are now so hot and humid that they're almost not enjoyable. Yeah. And the winters are so bad. And the real problem is like Colorado or Arizona, you get 325 days a year of sunshine, where here you get like 40 days of sunshine. And the rest of the time it's gloomy and shitty. And that's where the downside is. Like, I'll deal with the cold. Yeah. I'll deal with the humidity, but give me some sunshine. I can't deal with the gray. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And
that is a problem. And although this year in Kansas City, it's been very gray and gloomy for the most part, much more so than in the past few years.
I think it's changing.
There are times that, I'll just sit on my patio and look and say, geez, there's not a cloud in the sky. And I just love that.
When you're right in the middle, right? You're like 3 hours from either coast from there, right?
In Kansas City?
Yeah.
Flying. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that.
I drive almost everywhere. I'm kind of a road warrior. I drive up here. It's 11-hour drive up here. And then my daughter lives in Texas. It's about a 10.5-hour drive down to her. And so, it's just, number one, there's not great flight service, into Ironwood. I mean, they have flight service, but it by the time you get to the airport and you change planes and you got to go through TSA and all this other garbage, I can almost make it here as fast driving as flying. So
wow. Well, no, and it's starting to become more apparent why you're still single. You're a loner. You're a rebel. You like to be on your own.
I am.
Just me and the windshield. That's my baby.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
That's a hell of a lot of driving, man. 10 hours, 11 hours. I actually traded my car in. Not traded it in, but it was a lease. I turned it back in. And I found a car just outside of Chicago, and I've been waiting for the paperwork. And then I fly down and get it. I actually flew to Kansas City one time and got one. It's just kind of a fun thing. But they're not processing the paperwork, and they're like, well, with the rioters and the looters, everything's a little slower. And I'm like, I don't have a car. Come on, let's go. Luckily, my kid's between opportunities, so I'm borrowing his car. And but yeah, so it's just crazy how this ripple effect is taking over.
Yeah.
But that drive from Chicago is going to take me probably 6 hours. And 11, no way. I mean, unless you have like an awesome car that, it's just an amazing experience. But I've owned a lot of cars and I haven't found that one yet.
Yeah, no, I just upgraded to a 3/4 ton pickup. So,
oh, jeez, that's a nice ride. Oof, hardcore. Yeah. All right, sir, we got to wrap this thing up. We will look into it on down the road. Why don't you take a minute and tell everybody where they can find you and your stuff, being the book, and how to get a hold of you if some people are needing some coaching and just want to talk and see how you can help them. What's the best method to find you?
The best way to find me is at my website, ricksoetebier.com, and that's RICKS like Sam, OETEBIER.com. And my book is there. You can reach out to me and through email. My email address is there, rick@ricksoetebier.com. You can check me out on Facebook and go to @ricksoetebeercoach. And like my page, and you can follow me Monday evening at 5:00. It's Monday Mastery Live at 5. You can get some free coaching right there. And then good. Check out my YouTube channel and all that fun stuff at Rick Soetebier. And then also the book is available on Amazon. It's Dating Backward, A Practical Guide to Dating and Finding Your Soulmate. And that's available in paperback and the Kindle e-reader. So
nice. And while you were doing that, I decided to help you out. And I did a little research. And if you get Rick Soda Beer, it's available. ricksoetebier.com. That way, when people, dyslexic people like me go, geez, I'd love to get a hold of that guy, but who could spell that last name? Rick Soda Beer. Done. Forwards right to your site. Man, what I do is help people.
That's awesome.
Just like you, I'm here to help. That's awesome, man. Well, we can't thank you enough for all the time. And like I said, we will follow up with you somewhere down the road and check in on you to see how things are going once book number 2 comes out. And
that's a wrap.
Read the shtick.
Backwards, the dirt.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends. If you'd like to reach out, you can use the studio line at 612-504-6500.
Take care, man.
Or by email, thedkprojectpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, there's always social media at the DK Project Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.